3, 2, 1, go.
What's up, y'all? Warren here with the GDgvn Podcast. It's been a minute. We've been stuck in this isolation for, California about 4 weeks now. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but it's been a minute, and I'm finally getting myself organized. I've finally broken out of my slumber, and, I'm ready to start moving forward, because I think that's kind of what, if you really think about this, I think that's what God has been asking us to do this whole time, is take this time, spend it with your families, look inward towards Him, right? He got rid of all our false idols, right? He got rid of sports, he got rid of movies, he got rid of celebrities, he got rid of everything. You can't even, I'm sick of just watching TV. I don't even watch TV no more. Really, the only thing left is to hang out with a family, appreciate the ones you love, and really just try to make sense of why this is happening. Because I think if you leave this isolation, whenever this ends, and you ain't got no new game plan, you ain't got no new insights, you ain't got no new nothing, I think you completely dropped the ball. So that's why we're here right now today, trying something new. We got this video feed with my boy Jahi right here.
Hey.
And we're trying to go video with this GDgvn Podcast. So I want to welcome my first video guest, Mr. Jahi Anderson right here. And before we get started, we gotta tell the story, because this is one of those Kevin Bacons of separation things that you meet people in your life, you're like, man, how did we never ever cross paths before this? So
for real though.
Yeah, for real though, because so me and Jahi are both from the Bay, specifically from Daly City, right? And we never met. We're probably only a couple years apart in age, but we've never ever met. And I moved to New Jersey with my then fiance, now wife, who did her residency in a small town of Camden, New Jersey.
Yes, sir.
And I remember walking in to go play poker with a bunch of her coworkers. She wasn't there, but this dude was there. He's probably one of the first people I met. I walked in and met Jahi and a bunch of other folks. And we started talking about, hey, where are you from? He's like, oh, I'm from the Bay. He's like, oh, where are you from? He's like, I'm from the Bay too. He's like, where? Daly City. Where are you from, Daly City? What part of Daly City? It's like, and we keep talking, and we keep talking, and we realize, we grew up playing basketball on the same court.
Geller Park, baby, you know what I mean? Geller Park.
Shout out to everybody from Daly City who played ball at Geller Park. And we both grew up playing basketball on the same court. Probably even played a couple pickup games against each other.
Probably did.
You know what I mean? Headed after every game, probably headed to the same 7-Eleven.
You know that's
right there. Walk down to the 7-Eleven, get a Slurpee, some hot dogs, and some nachos, and do it all again. And we probably did that for years. Never ever crossed paths. Never even
I used to hit the little shops behind 7-Eleven, get the little white rabbit. Yeah. People didn't know I knew white rabbit. They didn't know I knew about the white rabbit.
I forgot about that one till now. Yeah, I remember that shop. That's right.
Get the little Watusis, little firecrackers, bro. They don't be knowing that I know.
Yeah. Oh my God. I almost forgot. I honestly forgot about that little shop behind the 7-Eleven. So just now. That's hilarious. So anyway, so we finally crossed paths. How many years later? In what, 2000? That was 2008 is when we moved out there.
I got to Jersey in 2006. Steph started residency, 2008? Yeah.
Yeah, 2008. And it's the first time I ever crossed paths with this dude knowingly.
Right.
And, but it's been dope. Like, this dude has been, just a really awesome dude, like one of those guys whose light shines bright, just awesome guy, positive guy, and most importantly, man, got love for the Bay like no other. 49ers, Niner gang, Bay Area,
You already
Dub
know.
Nation, already know. But anyway, this dude right here, Naya lives in Texas. I live out here in the Bay, but he's one of those guys where the dude, you just know when people have this aura or this light about them, you notice. And you guys have probably heard me say this a bunch of times on this podcast is, people who just have that light, you notice them. And I think that's what God kind of puts in certain people who really have faith in him and in Lord, that this light that they shine, people just notice it and they want to know, what is it? What is it about this guy that makes this dude special? And we all know, people, us who believe we are saved, we all know what this light and where it comes from, the source of that light. And so when I thought about when I prayed about who should be the next guest on this podcast coming out of this isolation, this dude's big mug popped
Huge
up
mug.
right on my Instagram. Huge mug. Getting swollen flexy on his Instagram.
Flexy.
With all
hashtag flexy.
posting his workouts, his daily positivity, all those things, man. This dude is always fire with his comments or with his daily feed, and just the daily insights that he makes that most people, they don't get it. But I get it. I see it. And dude is a daily inspiration to me, and had to have him on the podcast. So without further ado, my boy Jahi. What up, bro?
What's going on? What's happening? I appreciate you having me on here like this, man. This is unexpected, man, because we just kind of randomly hooked up, and people have no idea how they cross paths. And just me at the time, I wasn't even chief resident yet. Was I chief resident when Steph, maybe it was her second?
No, not yet.
It was her second year where I was chief. That's a whole other story altogether. We can spend 2 hours talk about that. But just randomly, not randomly, honestly, finding somebody that you were in the same orbit around. You had no clue. There's 7.5, 7.6 billion people on the earth, and you were literally within miles of that person as they were growing up in their parallel lives, and you hook up in South Jersey. Like, that's got to be written somewhere. You know what I mean? It's not up to us to understand, but boom, here we are. And I appreciate what you're doing out here, man, because you're out here giving your time and your energy, because this is what you were called to do, and just putting out vibes, talking to people, giving some game about how God has been in your life, and you just want to do what you feel like you have to do, not what you want to do, but but what can you have to do? You got to spread that. You can't. That's kind of selfish to keep this blessing to yourself. If that's what your blessing is, you got to share it. You got to spread it.
No.
And you really don't have a choice in the matter, because you don't feel right unless you are. It's kind of like you said, what am I doing? We were quarantined. I put it down for a little while, and then I get to praying, and then what else do I have to do besides do what I was supposed to be doing anyway? And here you are, back on it, elevating it all of a sudden, your video, because all of a sudden the world found Zoom chats. Been around forever. But now all of a sudden, you're on with your grandma, you're on with your mama, you're on with your frat brother, you're on with your sister, and your nephews and nieces. Well, we could have been doing this forever. But because we're all of a sudden now isolated, we've become a community again. Interesting.
That's weird.
So,
it's weird.
Beyond weird.
It's not really weird when you think about it, but it's crazy. Yeah.
Right, because it forced us to use the technology that is prevalent nowadays to get closer while we're isolated. Because as human beings, we're social creatures. So this forcing us to isolate is forcing us to also find other ways to connect. And certainly, like you were saying with your family, I mean, we live lives. You work, she works, my wife works, your kids go to school, you see each other for an hour or two at the end of the day, you go to sleep, you wake up, you rinse, you repeat, you do the weekend stuff, and all of a sudden 10 years have passed. You know what I'm saying? But now you can't go out. So we got to sit down and eat dinner together. We got to go ahead and ride these bikes together. We got to sit down and talk about plans and plots to move ourselves forward. Because I personally had to, that forced on me, cut back some hours because people weren't showing up in the intake departments at some of these hospitals. And I had to sit back and be like, all right, I've been needing to get out on my own anyway. So now what? So this has been good. This has been good. And I appreciate you blessing us with this platform to, to speak to people and hear people's perspective.
Appreciate it, man. Do want to take 2 points real quick that you said. I think when you said that basically he took everything away, he took everything that we took for granted, right? So we took our families for granted. We took our loved ones for granted. And he took even those people away because you can't see those people other than the ones that live in your own home with you. And so I think once we finally got everything stripped down, took away all the stuff that we were taking for granted, like you said, like now we missed all that stuff. And we're like, man, I can't take for granted these things ever again. So I think that's a great point. Second point was, like you said, I don't feel like this isn't something that, the more and more I do this, I want to do this. But like you said, this is something I feel very called to do. Like, I feel like if I don't do this, I'm definitely doing a disservice to God and, his calling and everything that he's blessed me with, it's Jesus even said it, right? Because he didn't say he said, go make disciples, right? He didn't say go become a disciple, right? Because he assumed that if you are a disciple, that you are going to go out and make other disciples. So to kind of keep this light that he's given us and keep it hidden, completely doing God a disservice. So this idea of spreading the light, it's exactly what Jesus asked us to do. Go make disciples of the Lord. And so that's why we're here. Exactly. And so let's get into it, man. So being a psychiatrist, being someone who's face to face with people every day, maybe you could talk to us real quick about how you feel like what you do now or just your everyday life is a calling. Since you kind of brought us there, let's talk about why you feel like your life is a calling and how you live that out every day.
Well, I mean, to take it back to, my own personal journey and calling to do what I do, which is, be a psychiatrist, a physician that treats people with mental illness, trying to achieve mental wellness, is what I was called to do. And long before I even knew that I wanted to do this, I have a long list of people in my family that have mental illness. A lot of people don't know it. I've told the story many times. The first funeral I ever went to in life was my cousin. When I was 5 years old, Dad killed himself. He shot himself in the head. My aunt, my mom's younger sister, middle child sister, had severe bipolar disorder. And at that time, there just was not a lot of treatment. She was in and out of hospitals. And she also ended up taking her own life when she was in a severe mixed manic episode. And those things have kind of molded the direction that I went as far as what I wanted to do with my life. I knew that I wanted to be a doctor, but that's really all I knew that I wanted to do. But my grandmother, she was an entrepreneur and had group homes. And in those group homes, she took care of a lot of people that had, mental illness, chronic mental illness, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, that were not functioning super highly, as people know, folks that live in group homes and boarding homes. And I interacted with those folks because my father was kind of the I guess he would have been the chief operations officer. He was the COO of the situation. So he did all the books, and finances and whatnot. So I always went with him. It was called Summerside Incorporated. And I always, growing up, went with him on the weekends to handle some business. I remember some of the names of some of the clients, Thomas and and Lori. My sister would trip off if I said those names. Um, but I was around it. You know, it was nothing to me. So I had to, you know, it was a part of life. A lot of people don't get a chance to interact with a lot of people that have, you know, disruptions in the way that they think, in the way that they process the world. So it's this huge stigma, you know. But to me, it was just the dude at the group home while I was waiting for my pops to do some business, and then we, you know, left. Sometimes I'd be in the room and they'd be playing hoop in the backyard or whatnot. I'd hoop with them too, you know.
Yeah.
Just whatever. I wasn't unsafe, you know. Pops never put me in an unsafe situation, but you know, it never was something crazy and out of the norm to deal with people that were a little bit different, a little bit off, you know. So that molded the direction I took. And when I was in undergrad, my older, you know, right before I went to undergrad, my older brother got diagnosed with schizophrenia, had a full-on psychotic break. He was getting his dissertation at Stanford, was on a trip to Ecuador studying linguistics and the differences between the native and Afro Latino folks in Ecuador and how they correlate to African Americans in this country. And while he was down there doing his research, full-on psychotic episode that had been coming for several years, symptoms here or there, but that's what they call the break. So he took off from the host family that he was with. He ran up into the hills. He was missing for about a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Wow.
My parents had to fly down there and they had to find him. He had lost 30 pounds. He was disheveled. They brought him back on a plane and boom, he got diagnosed with schizophrenia. Now, his story is such that he ended up getting on the right medications, had beyond great support, and ultimately it got stabilized and it was under control. He finished his dissertation, graduated from Stanford, still on medication, functioned on medications that caused him to gain like 120 pounds over a few years. And lo and behold, here I was in my second year of residency, learning about medication and learning how to treat. And I was able to give him some insight to change one of his medications that took him from a simple thing that I had learned, and a lot of people don't know the names of all these medications, but he was on Zyprexa, which is a very common antipsychotic, causes a lot of weight gain. And I told him, you know what, maybe you should try, you know, there's a new medication called Giadonis, the only one that doesn't cause weight gain. Got on the medication, convinced his psychiatrist, because you don't want to step on another doctor's toes, convinced his psychiatrist to try a different medication. And that was the thing that completely turned his life around and got him back to pretty much all the way functioning.
Wow.
And I believe all that I just said was me leading to that point where I could drastically affect my older brother's life because of the path that I took. And I feel like everything led to that point where I could be there to help him. And I don't take that for granted because that's why I do what I do. I don't just see patients. They're not just numbers that walk in 15 minutes, fill a script. I don't just dismiss anything that can help them out, whether it be spiritually, whether it be through just therapy, whether it be through exercise, certainly through medication. It doesn't matter to me. Whatever it is that I can do to improve your life, get your symptoms under control, figure out exactly what you need, not what you want, but what you need to function as highly as possible and as highly as you were supposed to be functioning. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm not Mr. Big Pharma Doc. I do believe that a lot of people need medication. I also believe there are so many people on medications that clearly don't need to be on them or certainly don't need to be on that much. So a lot of times I got to jump in, decipher what somebody else has done, figure out, and try to get you on a path of doing all that you can do, with the least amount of medications possible to function as highly as possible. That's me. That's what I try to do. I feel like my whole life led me to do that. And just kind of like you feel like you were called to do this. I don't know that I could have done anything else,
Yeah.
I hated OB when I was in med school. Surgery. Surgery, the mask used to fog up. I couldn't see. You know what I mean? I was good at stitching and blood doesn't harm me, but the mask. And also, how you gonna stand up and do surgery on this little spot for 7-8 hours, man, and not have to go use the bathroom? I could not understand it. I had to go, man. I had to scrub out. I had to scrub out. You know what I mean? The whole scrub out. Yeah, I had to scrub out, bro. I realized, surgery ain't for me, fam. I ain't do it. Like I said, OB was nasty. I couldn't do that.
I'm gonna go off schedule real quick. This is the second time I've done this video thing. I'll tell you, this the one thing I'm already liking about this is just seeing everybody's. Hey. It's like audio and visual. They gotta go together.
They have to, man. You gotta from now on, man. You gotta be one with the people, man. You connect
I get it, man.
You gotta see the people because these stories are real, fam. You don't understand this foggy mask that turned me completely away from surgery. I thought I wanted to be a pediatrician too. Until little dude, I had to describe this nasty, crazy looking rash, and I'm like, it looks like it's itching, and the attending's looking at me like, describe it. What is it? Papular? Is it macular? Is it weeping? And I'm sitting there like, man, that's a rash, fam. I don't know. I'm in med school. I've come a long way. I realized at that time, I don't want to treat nasty rashes on little kids.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So I found psych, and it was called for me. It was meant for me, and boom, that's what I do. Nobody else wants to talk to people that are, think that they're supposed to marry the president in spaceships and stuff. I can talk to them,
Now I've calmed down a little bit. I got 2 points off to that one. The first one is, if you think about just all the things that went into it. So your story is complex, like everybody's story is complex, right? If you think about all the little nuances, all the little things, even the things you mentioned, but even the things that you probably haven't even mentioned that have kind of led you and steered you through your life to that point, right? Up until when you realize and you kind of helped your brother out. Like, if you think about all the things, all the dominoes that had to fall in place for that moment. I mean, and for people, the thing that always gets me is when people say like, nah, that's just a happy coincidence. I'm like, man, that's a lot of happy coincidences that had to fall the way they did at the time that they did, how they did for you to get to this point where you are right now.
Period.
I think that insight that you have, I feel like a lot of people lack that insight and just kind of go along life thinking like stuff happens to you, but not really thinking about like, well, maybe there's a grander purpose for why these things are happening to you the way they're happening to you, right? You could have easily gone into a totally different way, right? With having, two family members die from mental illness, and then having a brother with a complete psychotic break. You could have just been like, why is this happening? And kind of go in that direction and be like, this is all messed up. But you basically went the other way. It's like, how can I, like, God is calling me to do something. Like, there's a reason why these situations speak to me or spoke to me and led me into this direction of this is what I got to do. And now that you're in it, it's the same thing that I could say about doing this. Is like, I can't see myself doing anything different now. You know what I mean? I'm a gym owner, and that's I love that. You know what I mean? That's my first love. Well, second love, sorry. Third love, God, wife, kids. Fourth love, my bad. Gym is fourth love.
And then comes CrossFit.
And then CrossFit. But I can't see myself doing anything different. Like, you can't see yourself doing anything different. It's your calling. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And then the second point is I wanted to make is, I honestly do think it takes a special person to do what you guys do. having a wife who's also a psychiatrist and a child psychiatrist at that, I hear all the stories, and I just sit there and I'm like, man, I don't know how you guys sit through that and with a straight face sometimes. And you know what I mean? And like, sometimes you're probably just thinking like, oh my, but you know what I mean? You sit there with a straight face and you stay objective and you find a way to help these people. I think that honestly takes a special person. And I always tell Steph, like, and I'll tell you now too, like, you guys were meant to do this. Like, there's no question in my mind.
But just about dealing with people that have a lot of issues, whether they be just, outpatient issues coming in to get depression managed, or, some mood disorder, some anxiety. Even dealing with people, which I did within the hospital for 8 years, inpatient acute care, emergency psychiatry, which is kind of where the rubber meets the road, sort of. This is not the sugary sweet. It's not the stuff you see on TV. I mean, they're strapping you down and forcing you to get electroconvulsive therapy. No, but real deal. And you talk about keeping a straight face, and I've got so many stories. I have stories just for 1 week of treatment in an inpatient facility that would blow most people's minds. And I did that for 8 years. Stuff that you wouldn't believe is actually true, that somebody did, or the way that they think. But the truth is, the way that I personally deal with it is, I don't necessarily think that I'm special. I think that I can have a humility about myself, where I can sit there and hear what somebody else has to say, no matter what it is, no matter what perspective they have, whether it be delusional, whether it be fueled by severe anxiety or depression, and recognize that this is real to them, even if the reality is them lying to me to try to get into the hospital so that they can get 3 hots and a cots for a couple of days, or clear up for a few days, because they don't want to sleep under the bridge. I have to.
Because it's raining outside.
It's raining outside, and they trying to lie their way. Doc, I'm suicidal. You know what I mean? If I leave, I'm gonna kill myself. I will know off top that, look, dude, I hear you. But what I have the kind of ability to do is kind of step out and recognize, how has your life gotten to a point where you are trying to lie to a psychiatrist to get into a psychiatric hospital, because that is your best way to get shelter tonight. That alone allows me to step back, stay humble, and recognize, like, look, I'm going to keep it real. I let patients know, look, man, I know you're lying. You and I both know, I know what it is. However, I do understand that you need some help. So let's kind of cut through to all of that and figure out, what do you need? Beyond you trying to get into this hospital, what do you need? And let me figure out if I can get some resources together to help you out. And that's the thing, I mean, a lot of people think that they are so big and beyond and above other people, no matter who they are, whether we're talking about the president or the homeless, meth head lady that, had 7 children and all of them got taken away by CPS. I mean, the whole spectrum of people. I'm not better than any of them, and none of them are better than me. So I'm just here with you to figure out, what do you need? And that's what I got to cut to. And that's why I feel like I can do what I do, because I don't necessarily take it home with me. I'm going to give you all I got in this moment, figure out what you need. I'm going to give it to you, and I'm going to do that to the next person. And when I go home, or the last couple of years when I log off the computer, I'm home and I'm with my family and I'm with the people I love, I mean, and that's the only way that we can do this, is that you have to meet people where they are. And I think that's a lesson that a lot of people just need to have. Like, you know what? Step back, yourself for a second and recognize that this person has issues, even if they just hating on you for no reason. They hating on you because you got some money. They hating on you because you got some whatever. You're happy. Yeah. I can sit there and reflect, like, I'm not going to get mad at you hating on me, but I am going to be like, I mean, look at yourself. Why are you hating? For what? Why
I think that's a good point, though, man. I think that what you just said, you can apply that to life, everybody in life. Like, I mean, just having having some empathy for people and trying to understand what they're going through, instead of just saying that person's different from me, that person don't understand me. Like I think that is the root of why our world is all messed up. Is everybody thinks that everybody is different from them and that they can't understand their struggle. The thing I hate to hear all the time, I hear this, I was like, why don't you talk to that person? Or why don't you talk to those people? Like, because those people don't think like me. I always want to say, newsflash. Everybody in this world is completely unique from every other person in this world. There's not one or two people, even twins, being the father of identical twins.
Identical twins, exactly.
Even identical twins are not the same, do not think the same. So when you look at it from that perspective, that there ain't one person in this world who looks or thinks or acts like you. And then for you to say, I don't want to talk to that person, or I don't want to hang out with those people because they don't think like me. I mean, then you can't talk to nobody. You can't hang out with nobody, because nobody in this world thinks or acts exactly like you. Yeah. So I think once people recognize that, I think that's the first step to then realizing, hey man, everybody's different. Everybody struggles. Maybe there's something different that we can do, which is try to understand people, try to understand their story, try to empathize with them. And maybe if they're feeling pain, if they're coming at you because they're hating on you, right? Why are they hating on you? What is it in their life that they're not happy about? And not necessarily call them out on it, but give them an opportunity to tell you, right? Be an open ear and just be that person to listen. Exactly. Right? You don't need to be you don't need a psychiatrist. You don't need to go to a therapist to get somebody to listen. You just need to be willing to be vulnerable and just open up.
I tell people all the time that the whole idea of therapy is a vast spectrum. You know, this conversation can be therapy. You sitting down with your family and having dinner and asking your daughter, so what did you do on the online, homework, schoolwork today, and recognizing that she was just kind of playing around, didn't realize anything that you did. Okay, well, why did you feel like it wasn't that important to pay attention to that, and start to break down and understand the reasons why she's seeing what she's seeing and doing what she's doing. And all of a sudden, you've had a therapeutic session that can hopefully help her to get a better understanding of why she's doing what she's doing. Just a quick little dinner conversation, and I feel like therapy happens all the time. It's about support and being there for somebody. Obviously, there are very strict types of therapy, that people do as therapists, as psychologists, and certainly as psychiatrists. We break down the physiologic and the mental and the combination of the two as to how we can fight disease and illness through medication management or any combination of things. But therapy itself is, going to church, hearing what the pastor has to say. The pastor is a human and has issues just like everybody else, but he's trying to give therapy and give some sustenance and some nourishment to the people that show up at this spot, at this house, on this rock, to hear this message that I feel like I've been called to disseminate to all of y'all, his flock, her flock, and that's therapy too. And you taking that positive energy that you got on Sunday morning and taking it to work for the rest of the week, that's therapy too. All of it is trying to navigate this crazy, wild, disruptive world and figure out how to keep perspective and how to do better for yourself, those around you, and just try to, live the best life you possibly can through whatever means. And it's an ever evolving and changing thing, but that's all of it is therapy,
Yep.
The weights I just hit, I'm over here, trying to get the crease right, in my chest. So I'm trying to make a mind muscle connection. I'm giving my muscles therapy right now. Let me think about the squeeze, That's there, that's therapy, bro.
No, man.
All of it is, man.
from one gym head to another. I totally get it, man. If I couldn't work out 3 or 4 days a week, I don't know how I would. I know how I would get through it, but man, it's a lot easier when you can get,
But I bet you
that
you'd be
workout
somewhere
in.
doing some sets and some push-ups and some air squats and some, you know what I
You
mean?
bet.
Doing
You bet.
some handstand push-ups. You remember I tried to do that handstand push-up? Were you there that time?
I was there. I remember I was there.
I appreciate y'all now for just not laughing me out
man.
the gym. You know what I mean? Because I don't have awesome shoulder mobility. You feel me? So I just thought I was going, it's nothing. Sure. I'm just going to do a handstand push-up. Wow.
Yeah. Most people don't know this, but Jahi CrossFitted for like 2 or 3 months. 2 or 3 months it was.
I did.
Yeah.
And to keep it real, that was some of the best shape I feel like I've ever, tried to be in. I feel like the vibe, awesomeness of it all. However, I'm not a detailed person. And when you're doing CrossFit, this is from a dude that did it and does not do it anymore. Yeah, if you don't stretch, if you don't warm up, if you don't foam roll, if you don't get the ball and get the knots out and hydrate, you're going to hurt yourself.
Yeah. Hey, but I see, man. I see some of your workouts. I see you throwing in some CrossFit-y type things.
Look, man. Look, the CrossFit, look, that is an introduction to what, all these, there's a lot of CrossFit haters out there, but it's like, look, man, the concept is functional fitness. So let's not get caught up in the name of what it is. We got some people that are trying to get together and do some functional stuff. Like you said, I can either be this swole dude who can't even run from this bear, when I look like a big snack. All I look like is a big snack. I'm a big swole snack that can't move to this tiger. Or do I have some agility, some mobility? Can I jump around this rock? Can I get over this fence? Can I climb this tree?
Oh, man, I can't believe you brought that story back, man. I remember that night.
That stuff sticks. That stuff sticks, man.
With Dan. We were Dan. Dan Fitz. Shout out, Dan.
Yes, sir.
I remember that night. Oh, man, with the biggest Rice Krispie treat ever.
The biggest Rice Krispie treat of all time.
Oh, man, sorry. We off on a tangent right now. All right. All right, we're bringing it back. But I want to kind of go off on not a tangent, but actually kind of delve into this a little bit more. I know as a man of God and a psychiatrist, and I talk to Stephanie about this all the time. It's like, it's got to be a challenge, because that sometimes you'll be sitting there, listen to somebody talk, tell their whole story. And I know that in your head, you probably just want to say, man, you just need to talk to God, or you just need to go to church, or you need to have a relationship with God. Like, because I know that I feel like a lot, and this is my humble opinion. I'm not a psychiatrist. I did not go to school for psychiatry or psychology or therapy or anything like that. So this is 1000% my humble opinion and belief. But what I believe is that I feel like a lot of these mental health issues that people experience nowadays, man, if you just kind of went to God and just gave that up to him, things could be a lot different, a lot better. But how, for you as a mental health practitioner, how do you balance the two?
Well, in my opinion, the way that I practice, kind of what I kind of described before, is that, any and everything is on the table about what you need to get better, and get into to fulfill whatever your life is. I don't think that I don't ever shun somebody or say, you shouldn't be doing that, or this is all that you need. And certainly, with, regulating and incorporating your spiritual base, whether that be through Christ, whether that be through Allah, whether that be through Buddha, whether that be through whatever, finding your spiritual base and honing the communication that you have with a higher spirit should be a part of whatever you are trying to do. Certainly for me as a physician, and certainly somebody that understands the complexities of the human brain and the way that your body works and your mind works and your spirit works. I think it's, in my opinion, humble opinion, I don't think it's logical to think that there's not a higher power. And when people people need to have that as a part of their centering. And yes, there are some people that certainly, if you would just slow down, back up, sit down, slow it down, and fine tune that connection that you have, yes, you may find out, you know what, that is all I needed, was to infuse that into my life and into my being and give me some purpose right now. And if that's what it is, that's what I want you to have. I don't feel like I have to start with this. Okay, let's go. Let's get this Prozac going. We'll start at 20 milligrams. Let's get this exercise going. We're going to do 3 times a week for 30 minutes. And let's get this nutrition going. We got the food pyramid that we're going to use, and we're going to start with that. And I want you to go to church once a week. No, it's not some prescribed formula.
Yeah.
Like you just said, you literally just said, every human being is different. There is no identical person like you or anybody else on this planet that is here now, that has been here before, and that will ever be here again. There's no exact replica of you. So I'm trying to find whatever it may be. And a whole lot of people are lacking that spiritual base and that connection. And I'm not here to shun any of it. I'm here to foster it. But I'm also here to say, okay, look, if that's all that you need, that is awesome. And I'm also here for the folks that, look, let's get that right. Let's also focus on these other things. And if you are to a point where you just can't function, and we've kind of run the gamut of all that you got going on and have got to a point where, look, we've got to try all of these modalities, including the fact that you have a mental illness. You have bipolar disorder because you were manic for 2 weeks last month and you were in the psych hospital, and you only got better because we gave you some antipsychotics and managed you on a mood stabilizer. And now look at you. You're in my outpatient office and you're doing better, So that's what you needed. So let's continue to add to the rest of the balance of your life to optimize, to get you as good as you possibly can be. That's what I'm about. Do not ignore the spiritual. I'm a huge proponent of, you got to fine tune that connection. We're not going to be talking right now if the connection is Wi-Fi cuts off. It's like, what? How can this nebulous thing that has us connected? How can you not think that there's a design and a plan, and this spiritual thing? You may be looking for it, you haven't found it, you don't know what the name of it, but there's something that drives you, and let's focus on trying to figure out what that thing is. And that's a huge part of health.
Let me ask you this question. How much do you think of that healing is linked to helping them find their purpose, or let's just say for Christians, their passion? How much of that do you feel like helps when it comes to healing, is helping people kind of find a passion or their passion, right? Because I honestly feel like, coming from a person who has a history of family illness or mental illness, right? I do feel like what I'm doing now, like you said, it's my therapy also, but it also helps me to heal, right? And I don't know if I had this, how difficult it would be for me to manage, having this history of mental illness and knowing that I'm, susceptible to that. You know what I mean? How does that, if at all, kind of help you when it comes to people?
That is the very essence of your being. The reason you're here, the purpose that you have, that you've been searching for your whole life. And if you found it, or if you're searching for it, that is the fiber of your being. It's an existential question. Why do I exist? And the reason why that is so important, certainly in the field of psychiatry and mental illness, because the point at which you do not have purpose, you feel like you do not have worth, you do not have hope, you feel like you can't be helped, is the point at which you've gotten to a place where you feel like you don't need to exist anymore. And that's when people take their own lives. That's why it's so important. That's the biggest question. That's the biggest concept that there is, because I'm trying to get you to get back to functioning, whatever that is, and finding your purpose and the reason for your existence is a major part of that functioning. And people that have a diagnosis of depression or bipolar disorder or whatever it may be, when they get to their lowest lows and the depths, where it's just them in a room and they feel like I'm alone and nobody can help me. There's nothing you can do, doc. I've been to a ton of docs. I've taken all these meds. I've done ECT. I've done, transmagnetic stimulation. I've even considered, having a vagal nerve stimulator. I've done it all. And I still have no purpose. There's no reason for me to live, which is why I tried to cut my throat last week, and I'm in the hospital right now. I'm going to do it again as soon as I leave. And there's really nothing that you can do. What am I supposed to do with that? But that's what I'm called for, to find something, to figure something out. Whether I'm not going to bombard you with positivity, I'm not going to bombard you with medicine. I'm going to find a way, somehow, some way to connect with something that you can connect with. And that's a start. That's a foot in the door. That's a crack. That is something that I can tug on, that I can hopefully start to build on in you as to finding your purpose. That is the crux of mental wellness, finding purpose. So that is a huge question that you just asked,
I'll take it even a step further. I feel like listening to you talk, and again, even when I hear Steph talk about this, I honestly feel like what you guys do too is help people realize like that they can have purpose, and basically you're trying to undo all these years of self-doubt, self-defeating thoughts that, if you really think about this, right, if you think about this on a spiritual level, like that the devil has put on you your entire life and just layered on top of you year after year after year, right? Like, I'm not good enough. I'll never be smarter than this person. I'll never make enough money as them. I'll never have a nice house. You know what I mean? All these things that people have told themselves for years, like this is exactly what the devil wants, right? And you, as a mental health practitioner, are trying to somehow unravel, right, all this stuff, or take off these layers one on one.
I honestly, I use this analogy all the time with people that I see in the hospital or talk to, that there's no way that I can take away your stressors. There's no way that I can undo all the things that happen to you that are jammed up into your mental closet, that are stuff on top of stuff, stacked on top of stuff, bags, papers, bowling balls, whatever, your entire life jammed into this closet. The door is trying to bust open. And if you open that door, you might get hit in the head with a bowling ball or an iron that falls off the top shelf and knocks you out cold. I'm trying to figure out, how can I help you reorganize this closet? Kind of see this clutter. What do you need? What needs to go? Recognizing that it's there and you can't take it away, but we can put it over here in an organized fashion, put it over here so that every time you open this door, or a situation or a stressor or a trigger cracks this door open, you don't continually get hit over the head with this bowling ball. And that is the whole, that's, I can't take it away, but I can help you navigate, teach you how to process, teach you how to organize, and try to get back to what I just said a little while ago, get you back to functioning. And functioning is huge. What purpose do I have? Why do I got to get up today? For what? Why? Seems simple to you. You get up, you brush your teeth, you kiss your kids, you get some breakfast, you go to work, or you don't go to work, or whatever you do, you exercise, you read the Bible, you pray, you talk, you this, you that. Some people wake up and wish that they just didn't. They wake up, open their eyes like, why did I wake up? And that is a horrible and strange and just an awful place to be. And I try to keep that in mind when I talk to people.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to minimize what you got going on. Let's tackle it. You know, I'm here. I say we. I say us all the time. You know, I said we're going to change these meds. Because I'm not just, it ain't me. I'm not out here just, you know, willy-nilly out here trying to control your life. I'm your partner in this journey at this point in this season, trying to do whatever I got to do right now. Even if you're going to take off from here and I'll never see you again, I hope that I've added something to your life that can change it in a positive direction for everybody I see, you know.
Yeah.
You know, so.
But I think that, again, I hear everything you're saying, but I was like, man, everybody could do that. You know what I mean? Like if people just took the time to see that everybody struggles, everybody's going through some things, and that your struggle, yes, your struggle may be unique to you, but so is everybody else's struggle. But that doesn't mean that we can't help each other. And I think that's a big point. Like everybody got that closet. Some might be fuller than others, but everybody got that closet that needs reorganizing. Mm-hmm. And I think we just need to get out of our own heads, out of our own closets, and maybe realize that, like, oh, maybe, you know, this person over here has this closet that I could help them fix, and they can help me fix in the process. And how much better would the world be if we all did that instead of just you know what I mean? You do it. Yeah. I mean, you just get paid to do it, but everybody else can still do it.
I can be selfish in that, you know, going through my day, if I help somebody else, you know, I'll admit it. That makes me feel good. You know, that's my own therapy. Doing a good job at what I'm doing, and the fact that I was actually able to help somebody. Small, big, whatever. That makes me feel good about my day, you know. And the flip side is if I wasn't actually able to see that I helped anybody, you know, I'm not going to allow it to tear me down either, you know. But all I know is that I'm putting forth the energy I put forth, and that is positive, simple. And yes, everybody clearly should be able to get over themselves and be able to recognize that all we need to kind of do is get over all these constructs and differences and trips that we have out here that we were programmed for, and just be able to simply be able to be there for somebody and help somebody. However, I wish.
Yeah. Yep. And I honestly think that everybody in this world can find their own God-given passion. You got psychiatry, I got this podcast, I got the gym. But I honestly believe if everybody just got out of their own way, they too could find, they probably even know. A lot of these people already know this is what I could do that would make me happy, but they're too scared. They're too worried. They're like all the what ifs of like, what if I do this, then I can't do this. Certainly. But I honestly believe if people just followed their passion, and it doesn't even mean that you got to quit your job or you got to completely flip the script. You can just do some of these things on the side. You know what I mean? You're
slowly trying to figure out what are the things I need to do to work towards the goal of being happy. And I had that conversation a couple months with a great friend of mine. I don't know where I heard it, but it really resonated. In your journey to happiness, you know, being happy, you got to be happy on the way to being happy. You know what I mean? It should not be this negative, oh my God, I got this burden on my back the whole time. You got to find a way. You got to find some positive, some light, some happiness.
You got to enjoy the journey, bro. This whole life is a journey. You have to
enjoy the journey and even take from some of the negative things, you know, because we're human. Yeah, you get knocked down, you wake up and you just can't, or you can't go to sleep because something has happened to you that's either out of your control or directly because of something that you did. And you know, you have to figure it out and get back to being get back to being positive, and that is something that we all should do and could do. And I try to give people the space through whatever energy I put out to be able to try to do that. You're not going to be negative around me. You come around hating and talking all this, I'm just, I rebuke that. Pew! I'm not taking that, I ain't going for it, man, Ain't gonna happen. Not with me, So.
Amen, bro. All right, man. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. This has been a good, it's already been an hour. I can't believe that. But
has it been an hour?
It's been 55 minutes and 7 seconds.
Jeez.
Yeah, man. Time flies.
Yeah, we didn't even crack the surface, man. We're going to have to do a part 2. We're going to do a sequel, bruh.
I'm down with it.
Yes,
What's one last thing you want to say to the people out there? If you could say one last thing to everybody about what they could do right now today just to change the direction. If they feel like they're going down, what's one thing they could do to start going up? Whether it be one step up or straight up. What's one thing?
One thing that I tried to tell everybody do to get everybody to kind of focus on is let me step back from myself and try to put myself in somebody else's shoes, and try to see they may be going through something too. That's the whole crux behind group therapy. It's the whole crux behind anything. Maybe what I got going on is not the worst thing on the earth, and maybe there is a way forward, and to find that small thing that just sometimes stop the descent, and not necessarily a move forward, but sometimes it's a move to kind of stop you from falling. And that's important too, because you can't go up if you're still going down. You have to stop that and reverse.
I'll tell you, man, the video with the audio is a game changer.
Serious, man. It has to be, man. I'm glad to be. I'm the first, man. I'm the test case. Yes, I'm interviewer zero. I'm ground zero for this new direction, and I feel, I'm appreciating being that person. That guy.
Oh yeah, man. I appreciate you making the recommendation. We're doing this. This is good. I like it.
Sir.
I like it.
Yes, sir, man. So we go do it again, man. We got to go out to do the follow-up. We go out to see.
Oh, yeah.
I tell one thing I can tell people to do in this time right now is to make, just like you said a long time ago in this interview, a checklist, a quarantine checklist. What have you done during this time that is out of the norm, that is out of your comfort zone, that is pushing you forward, so that you can say, you know what, those are the things I did that I make good use of my time, and I'm moving forward with this, and I can say I did something in a direction. The quarantine checklist.
Oh, we can add this to the checklist, bro.
Yes, sir. For both of us. Podcasted.
Peace. Thanks,
all
brother.
Right, my brother. I appreciate it. I love you, bro.
I love you too, man. Appreciate you.
Sir. Take care.